the RPG Maker General Podcast, or the rpgmgp. The show is on. The show is on off. Hello everyone, and Happy New Year! Welcome to a brand new episode and season of the RPG Maker General Podcast, or the rpgmgp. This is Cody, aka Marpix, your host, and with me are the Red Mage.
Hello everybody.
And Blue Sky Robin.
Yo!
Alright, so there's been a little bit of news since we went off air last time, and by the time this podcast airs, we'll know what this is, but holy shit, Yume Nikki announcement, and it's on Steam. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, I'm very, very curious. I know my wife downloaded it like immediately as soon as it popped on Steam. She hasn't played it yet. I am waiting with bated breath just to loom over her shoulder while she plays it.
You know what happened though, right? Because we caused it with the last podcast thing.
It's true.
Meme magic is real, lads.
We are ahead of the curve.
We literally snuck in our podcast right before the hipster cutoff. We are the hipsters.
Hell yeah.
Oh boy.
I'm very curious to see what they decide to do with it, because a couple RPG Maker games have been made into anime, like Corpse Party, and that anime is awful. That anime is really bad. But hopefully they've learned from their mistakes, and this actually comes out to be something fairly interesting and compelling.
Yeah, I should hope. You know, like with Corpse Party, of course you throw a low budget at it, there's no expectations. But with Yume Nikki, you know, it's kind of like how Valve tried to introduce the paid mods with Skyrim when you already have, like, the modding communities for Morrowind and Oblivion. Like, this is a big deal that's been building on its own for a long time. You don't get to fuck up Yume Nikki.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely not. No, but we'll see what happens with it. I think from what I was seeing, Katakawa has a hand in it, and they're the current folks that run the RPG makers for computer. So we'll see if they try and keep it true to form.
Yeah, and Studio Dean had a thing on their website, and I think it was about the mobile thing that they're doing, which isn't quite a game or an anime. Imagine if Studio Dean does make an anime out of it. Because, I mean, there's 12 zones?
Yep.
So, you make a half season, 13 episodes, you cover each door, and then you have a finale.
Yeah, it seems like it would be pretty straightforward and cut and dry, but we'll see. I hope we get to see the Aztec Rave Monkey. I am really hoping that he makes an appearance, but if not, I guess I'll be alright.
I think it would be thematically appropriate if the anime sucks until Madatsky gets the bicycle, and then the anime's awesome.
Fucking asshole. Jeez.
Oh, shit, that's true.
Zone. Give me Snow Zone, jeez.
But, yeah, I'm curious to see what'll happen. Very excited. Especially, like I said, because that was, when we played it, that was the first time I'd ever touched it. So now that we've played it, and now there's all this other stuff coming out for it, now I'm like, nice! I'm excited now. This is actually something that I will enjoy.
Oh, boy.
I hope.
I just hope it doesn't get, fuck up or whatever. Everyone's worried about it fucking up.
Yeah, that seems to be a common theme, especially in current year. We've had basically 10 years of franchises getting rebooted and reintroduced and getting sequels that they don't need. You know, you could talk about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, the Indiana Jones movie back in 2008. You could talk about all the strange moves that Last Jedi made this year that aren't quite Star Wars. You could talk about the Jumanji reboot, the Chips reboot, 22 Jump Street. People are very scared of old franchises getting rebooted because oftentimes they don't understand what made them famous or special in the first place.
Right.
And it's better for it to die a hero than keep living and become the villain, Spider-Man.
Yeah,
they're trying to bring Spider-Man back though, so
I'm kind of getting sick of superhero movies, to be honest. They're cool and they're fun to watch, but another one gets announced and I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah, they're trying to establish a cinematic universe now.
I guess.
Now the Avengers was 2012. Wake up.
It's just me, I think. Well, maybe not just me, but I'm pretty sure I'm still in the minority because the movies are still doing extremely well, and I will still go watch them. But
Yeah, I stopped with Avengers 2 Electric Boogaloo, which was literally Disney tricking us into watching the Hawkeye movie.
yeah, pretty much.
And now Black Widow's finally getting her own standalone. But anyway, we'll move off this real quick. So we took a couple months off, holidays, blah, blah, blah. I'll take a minute or two. Defeat the Darkness is done. Holy shit. Oh my god.
Hooray!
You actually watched that, right, RM?
Not yet. I have not yet, but I've got a vacation coming up, and that's pretty much I'm gonna route it through my television, and I'm just gonna sit on my couch, and I'm gonna watch the entirety of DTD from the comfort of my couch, and then it will be great, and I'll give Cody all the information that I have.
Perfect.
With like the loudest like high five ever.
Yeah, just a special shout out to Krista, to Richard, Alex, Jeffrey, basically every single voice actor that participated, to all my friends that helped me out. Like, hell of a journey. I'm glad it's over. I'm glad we get to work on something else. But holy fuck, man. I did not think it would take 5 years.
Well, I'm glad that it is over for you.
Yeah, and I mean, still technically, I think it got done before Anonymous Agony and basically 90% of Kickstarter projects. So
there you go.
Yeah, and the next one will definitely be faster because I basically did nothing for 2016. Like, I was really lazy that year, and so whatever I make will definitely come out at least a year faster than this did.
Fair enough.
God.
Next, are we gonna have podcast girls in the future?
Oh, you mean that visual novel where we're all gender-bent versions of ourselves?
Hell yeah.
I'm still looking forward to that. Someone make that, please.
Once, because over our break, we've been pushing on our visual novel a lot more. By the end of February, this February, we should be done with all of the outlines. By the end of the year, we should be done with all of the scripts, which basically at that point just means art and putting it all together. So once in 2019, once I'm done with that visual novel project, then sure, I'll make Podcast Girls if that's if that's still on the table. So we'll go ahead and I'll jot that down along with all of the other future ideas that we've got, which include a lot of really terrible future ideas that I'm really excited about. So, but that's been pretty much all I've been up to is working on this visual novel. It's a lot more work than I thought it would be. Like, I know obviously it's a game and there's like a lot to it, but like trying to keep the characters consistent, trying to make sure that the scenes don't play awful, trying to make sure that the main character doesn't come across as like a huge perv. It's much harder than I thought it would be.
And you're making a visual novel, so he can be a little pervy, but like, where's the line?
Right, and we'll say the thing is, you can be a boy or a girl, so then you've also got to make all of, like, the interactions kind of neutral, so you can't have them, like, be really macho, because the girl players are going to be like, well, that's not accurate, because one of the scenes that we were kicking around, because we've got Dullahands that can, like, remove limbs, they go to a horror movie with one of the Dullahands, and, like, at the end of the movie, he, like, takes off his head. So when the main character like turns to talk to him to ask him how the movie was, he's headless. So in the initial draft, they screamed, but that's really not like a thing that a guy would do. You'd like, yell, maybe stand up and back away. So we had to like balance all of these male, female things because we've got males and females writing these characters. So it's been rough, but it is coming together.
I watched an anime about a year or two ago called Diamond Daydreams. It really emphasized to me that, like, the main character in dating sims is just kind of a shallow husk.
Yes.
Because, like, another one called Comic Party Revolution, they have the main guy there, and he's with all these girls, and you don't know why he's there. Is he, like, their special needs friend that they just keep around and they want to keep him involved in everything? But no, it's based off a dating sim. But then in Diamond Daydreams, they cut the main guy out altogether, so it's actually about the most interesting people in the dating sim, the girls themselves.
That's actually a really cool idea. actually. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Which makes me think, what would happen if Doki Doki Literature Club just didn't have the pro tag in there?
That would be a very interesting scenario, because then Monica wouldn't like attach herself to anyone. So I don't know if she would just like continue fucking around with the code just to see what would happen, and then eventually just turn into even more nightmare fuel.
Monica is Flowey confirmed, lol.
Yeah.
There would be no one to stop her because protagonist Kun isn't there.
It's true. I mean, if you did play it, didn't you just like sit with Monica the entire time? Because I sure as hell did. She was the best girl.
No, I didn't actually play it.
It's a fun little play.
It's free to play, dude.
I know it's free to play, but it's not free of my time.
Okay.
I watched a friend play it, and basically, like, it was on-screen share, and we were told, we're so close to the twist! And 2 hours later, we had still not reached the twist. and another thing that got me about, like, the dialogue in it, so I've completed one visual novel, and it was Katawa Shoujo, and I really liked it was written by 4chan for 4chan, and, like, the way they approach the dialogue and who the main character is supposed to be. Like, it really spoke to me, kind of. It made a lot of sense. But with Doki Doki, so much of the dialogue was ... what ... what. I don't know if that's a normal trope for VNs, but it was not one that really hooked my interest. Like, you're not going to make me care about your characters with a bunch of ellipses. Like, I'm not going to sit there in teenage hormonal anxiety and wonder what they're thinking. I'm just going to sit there and be like, oh man, these little kids with their little kid problems.
That's fair. Yeah, the thing with that I found too, especially like I said, writing and working on visual novels, playing them like in a group setting really diminishes the value, because with a visual novel, it's kind of like a personal experience. Because you insert into the character, and if you've got like 4 people inserting into one person, that, you know, or even, you know, anything like that, someone may make a joke, and then that kind of like takes an entire scene and might ruin it for someone who would have really enjoyed it on their own. So I've been playing visual novels, you know, a lot, obviously for research now, but less with my cohorts in a group, because it's so much more entertaining to me for it, because just in a group it does not work. Because like for you, those scenes you could just, you know, click right through all that and get to like something good, but if they want to go through and read all of that and see all of that, then it's not going to resonate with you, and then it takes you out of the experience, and so that's just my view on them after having played about 20 in recent months. So
oh boy, I really don't like it if they go like, oh, we're so close to the twist. I'm like, don't fucking say it. Jeez.
All right, so Robin, how was your time off?
I already forgot.
A blur.
I mean, like, of recent memory, like, I went watching anime with my friends while they got drunk, and I had to get not drunk at all because, like, I had to drive. But still, it was a fun time, I guess. We spent like 2-3 hours watching one episode of, because we were really bad at drinking games. Audience, don't ask how. It's just that bad.
You're supposed to start with a good anime and then you get drunker.
It was a really good anime. It's not our fault that they got no tolerance at all. Jeez.
Nerds! Alright, we ready to talk about the game now?
I'm good. I'm ready.
Oh, we were talking about a game?
Yes! We have a brand new format now, Robin. We're gonna talk about one game a month. After we bullshit for...
boy.
I thought you just wanted us to talk about beating off, Cody.
Well, we're gonna get
I
there.
was beating off so hard.
We're gonna get there. So, we have decided to change the format of the rpgmg podcast. We're going to try and complete one RPG Maker game a month and give it, more of a thorough breakdown, like we did with Eve and Yume Nikki. We feel that is better for our audience than just kind of bullshitting game design. Also, we're kind of running out of those topics. Don't tell nobody.
Yeah.
So, to start off 2018, we decided to complete the game Off. It's a game by Mortis Ghost. It was released in 2008. And so everyone here completed the game Off. Our mission was to beat Off. We must have beaten Off to be on the podcast today. And now we're going to tell you how much fun we had beating Off.
Yeah, this was actually my third time beating Off, so it's I've got some experience that I can share about beating Off with everybody.
Yeah, I remember and RM told me to beat Off again in a different way, so I had to beat Off twice.
That's true. Yeah, including that, it's been like 7 times then that I've beaten Off, so we include all the endings.
Yeah, I had rushed through and beaten Off really quickly, and then I was told about exploring the other zones and then going for the other ending for kicks and giggles. So I beat Off quickly once, and then I ended up beating Off again.
Yeah, that's usually what happens. When you beat Off just that quick, you don't get this full sense of fulfillment, so you have to go back and take a little bit more time and make it a much more pleasurable experience the second time.
Good night, everybody. All right, so let's start with the stuff we liked about it. I really liked the strong visual aesthetic that Off had. There was a lot of custom assets being used, and the environments were simple and they were clean and they were efficient. I'll put it that way. Because you see maps on Tumblr and they're really pretty RPG Maker maps, and I like the placement, I like the color, I like all the doodads, but having that many doodads also overwhelms the player in a way. And if you're one of those people that checks every object for flavor text,
I do.
Yeah, there comes a point where it's just no longer worth it. And then because you have all these bright, exciting objects on your map, it's hard for the player to know what they're supposed to investigate and what's actually important. But in Off, it's very clear because most of the time it's probably 3 or 4 colors that they're using.
Yep. Yeah, the very low color palette is one of my favorite things because it's so. There's not a lot to distract you. You know what you're doing. You know where to go. The game is very straightforward. Even in some of the puzzles, which I'm sure we'll get to, you still kind of have an idea of what it is that you're supposed to do. And the environments do a good job with that as well too. For each of the zones, to have their own little introduction. For Zone 1. It's got this little just backsplash of you riding this little train car, and then it just has a very simple picture move event to bring Zone 1 over that little thing. But the way that it's done, it's really cool to see them using these really basic effects in really interesting ways. And Mortis does a really good job with that.
I was actually super surprised seeing the Zone 1 thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the zone transitions are one of my favorite minor parts of the game for sure.
Yeah, it's the little touches like that make a good game great. Like Final Fantasy Tactics. Most of the time, the characters have 3 animations, which is just standing and then walk left, walk right, and that's for the directions they have. But for cutscenes, they have a couple special sprites, like Delita punching Algus, which is still really fucking funny.
It's really good.
And I mean, him punching Algus is maybe 2 or 3 unique sprites, and they're only used that one time, but it's that little extra detail right at that moment that makes the game special.
Right, because they very well could have just used an attack animation or something like that and kind of played it out the normal way. But no, they gave him a completely custom where he just kind of rears back and just gives him a good right hook right across the jaw and knocks his ass down. It's super good.
Oh boy, yeah, that one's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Another thing I liked is how the atmosphere grew on me, because when I first started playing it, you have the batter and he's got basically no personality, and then you have his party members who are rings, and why are they helping him? And then you meet the judge, and then Zachary, the shopkeeper, and as you keep playing, they don't change. They know exactly who they are, and I liked them a lot better than I thought I would at the beginning, especially since I started playing the game right after I finished Defeat the Darkness, and I binged the whole thing at Adam's house, so I still had like a super critical eye. You know, I was looking at it through the lens of something I would make because I just finished obsessing over the thing that I was making.
Right.
And when I stopped looking at it as a game Cody would never make and started looking at it as Off by Mortis Ghost, I really enjoyed it a lot more.
Yeah, and that's one of the things too that we were kind of talking about in our chat is just that I really, really like the character of the batter. Like, he doesn't have a lot to him, but he is so self-assured. He is so confident. He is so just, I'm going to do this. There's no, oh man, this is a big bad monster up ahead. I hope we don't get hurt. He's just like, I must purify you. And that's it. And that's the end of it. It's simple, but it's so fucking cool. I love it.
We should get a male Shep to voice him.
Oh, dude, that would be great.
We'll bang, okay?
Oh, God.
Nice.
I think my favorite part is the one at the roller coaster. Because, like, after I figured out you can take a photo at the roller coaster, I'm like, can I actually look at this photo? And I looked at the photo, and it's like, okay, this is the greatest thing ever. Nothing can top this.
Yeah, and even speaking of that, the roller coaster scene, if you try to sit in like any other seat, I mean, obviously it's so that the picture would coincide with where you're sitting, but they give a little bit to the batter with that too, because he's like, I prefer to sit in the front. Like, he doesn't even like question that he could sit somewhere else. He's sitting in the front because he's the batter.
Like, yeah, you said he had no personality, but seeing that picture of him like actually raising his arms for the it's like, okay, fuck this. This is the greatest picture in the game.
Yeah, and that works well within the game's logic too, because, you know, normally the batter is, you shall be purified. But in that one shining moment, he has fun. You witness the batter having fun.
Mm-hmm.
He raises his arms and goes, wee.
Yeah, there's a lot of moments like that too in the game where just and two, I guess another thing to kind of coming back to like graphics as far as that picture goes. How did y'all enjoy like the when each of the folks were talking about their element, where it has like all those really old like pictures of like the different old school stuff, just kind of slowly moving across the screen as you get to see everything.
I loved it. I really like how they go into detail about all these elements. It really tells me something like, okay, they are super weird, but they have their own consistency, and I can really appreciate it. Like, it's not just lol random or whatever. It's like, no, there are rules to this universe. No matter how stupid the rules are, they have fucking rules there.
Yeah, that's why Off grew on me, because at first, none of it makes any fucking sense. But it makes sense to the characters, and that was enough sense for me. You know, it wasn't like I will bring up Homestuck till the day I die, because it's a good example of how to do things wrong. Homestuck will get in its own way to say gotcha to the player, or the reader, whoops.
Right.
But Off stays consistent internally. And when they discuss the elements too, like metal, smoke, plastic, and meat, they have a reason for those being the elements. Without metal, what would we walk on? Without plastic, where would our boundaries be? Without smoke, what would we breathe? And I'm like, okay, you know what you're talking about. Good enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the internal consistency is one of my favorite things about this game, because everything that's in here is all tied to something else. They don't, like Robin was saying, they don't bring in anything that's just LOL random, aside from perhaps the roller coaster, which actually has a small point, because there's coming back to that, there's that statue of Zachary that's out there.
Yep.
You can push that statue into the other front seat and ride with him, and you get a different photo.
Yeah. And that's how you get to the boss room.
Yep, and yeah, there's just some stat ups in there. I mean, it's not like super crazy, but I mean, it's just a
Not
nice little
super
benefit if
vital,
you
but
fizzle
yeah,
it
it's
out.
like a fun little bonus. Like, haha, you got the thing. Here's your reward.
Yeah, those are the two different photos that you get depending on whether or not you have Zachary with you in the cart.
Oh god, that's
And
fun.
by Zachary, we mean the statue.
Well, yeah, Zachary would never get in that.
He's too busy being a cool, like, shopkeeper.
Yeah. Okay, so one question. This is mostly for Cody because he is a music guy. How did you enjoy the music, especially the standard battle theme?
Dude, the standard battle theme is fucking great.
Yes, it. Oh, I love Pepper Steak.
It sounds old and weird, but it has a good beat that makes it a battle theme. Like it. What is it? There was an old movie. I don't know if it was like Total Recall or Blade Runner, but it takes place in the future. But it uses like African tribal drums for its soundtrack, and the composer's decision for that was, well, even though it's old, it's going to sound futuristic because it's kind of out there. And the thing about Off's soundtrack is it's familiar, but it's not, and
Yeah.
it works really well.
Yeah.
And also the rest of the soundtrack, like. It's very atmospheric. It doesn't feel like it needs to say anything, so it doesn't. It's a lot of like kind of droning tones and sound effects and stuff. That helps reinforce the rest of the world because all the characters there are like they're not very like active. They're all kind of like low energy.
Yes. Because a lot of them too, especially like the folks at the theme park, you talk to like there's someone they're like. I want to kind of go check out the roller coaster, but the roller coaster might do something bad. I think it's just safer to stay here. And that's like the viewpoint of like everybody in there. Everybody is so scared and timid to do anything. It's so good.
So in comparison, you love the fucking batter because he just does it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the batter and I jump down the chimney. Okay, that kind of says everything.
Oh boy.
With that timidity, you have the last zone where there are specters killing people, and there are signs up that say, the specters are your friends. And like, no one's scared, no one's running away. They're all just kind of like, oh yeah, they're around, I guess. Maybe I'll try talking to one. Like, they are just so damn timid.
Yeah. And it's very interesting, too, to kind of see how each of the zones, too, kind of differs with their approach to the specters. Because, like, in the first zone, like, they're kind of just like, okay, there's specters in there. I really don't want to, like, deal with that. And then the batter's like, well, I'll go purify it. That's my job. And so he does it. And then in zone 2, whenever the specters showed up, the people just lose their shit. Like, they are absolutely terrified. And then in 3, it's just kind of, complacency at that point. It's like, well, this is how it is, I guess.
This is our life now.
Yep.
That's true. It also helps juxtapose them from the bosses, because like the bosses are apathetic, but in their own way. Because like I think his name is Dedan, the first one. Like he is just an angry son of a bitch.
Yeah, he is. He is just violently angry to everybody, and it kind of, I don't know, it kind of works too, because I think that all of the people are just kind of so submissive to him in the way that he is, that they're less rattled by the specters, because in comparison to getting just reamed by Dedan, they're just kind of annoying. So, whereas in the second zone, when you've got the Phoenix dude, who's Japhet, I think is his name.
Yeah.
He tries to be intimidating, but he's in the body of a cat, so nobody pays him any mind, so they're less used to scary things, so then when the ghosts show up, they all freak out, and then Enoch is just a big guy. A very, very big guy.
Speaking of the Enoch fight, I enjoyed the mini game. Like, okay, there's a lot to break down for the Enoch fight. I'll try and do this quick. The Enoch fight is the one time the batter shows like genuine fear, and you're supposed to flee. And then as you're running away, you have a mini game of you running away from this giant motherfucker. And then when you get to the monorail, boom, here's Enoch out of fucking nowhere, and then you have a special, like, battle background. Like, it's not like the normal thing, it's like the batter and the 3 add-ons are like these little tiny things in the center screen, and then here's Enoch taking up the whole background.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's super cool. That scene in particular was just very... Because it's not expected, because you are expecting the game to kind of play by the same rules that it's always played by, and then all of a sudden it can't because of the situation, and Enoch is so big that it just shows the batter and his little rings as being very, very small.
To be honest, like the path towards like his office, I kind of figured something's gonna happen, because like the whole path towards his office is like set up really weird. I didn't expect running away from him though.
Yeah, same. I also did not like. I knew something was gonna like occur with it, just because like the way that there was this really winding path, and I'm like, okay,
yeah,
it's
there
really
was a save point, then a really long winding path towards the office.
Yep.
And it's like, what is this? I thought it was gonna be like, oh, he's gonna fall down one of these eventually, but nope. It caught me by surprise too. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, they did a pretty good job with all of that too. And really, despite the fact that me kind of like whining about the fights in general, because the fights get really annoying and repetitive after a while, and I'll get to that one in the don't like. But each of the fights is also really unique in how it's approached too, because in I think it's Zone 2, when Japhet summons a bunch of ghosts to attack people, when you go into these fights, it's like one ghost with like a bunch of little ghost heads coming out of it, and if you don't kill him fast enough, it explodes, and suddenly you're fighting like 6 ghosts instead of just one. It's just, all these fights have really interesting mechanics to them, despite being basic fights.
I was going to bring up that exact enemy later on, but you beat me to it, you bastard.
Sorry.
Good enemy.
Good enemy, yeah. When you introduced me to the game, RM, you said, okay, make sure you're using Autobattle. And after looking at the batter in the first add-on, Alpha, like, Alpha is all about attack spells, and the batter has attack and then analyze, which you're only going to use once. Like, literally once.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Autobattle is what you want to do, because, I mean, everyone's just going to be attacking anyway. There's no real strategy. But then you have that enemy where it seems like he's really weak to special attacks, because a normal attack did like 50, but then like batter's run attack, whichever one it was, it did like
furious home run.
It did like 150. So you're supposed to turn Autobattle off and like kill this thing quick with your special attacks. And there were a couple moments in the game like that where, oh, this guy can poison you, and poison really sucks, so turn off Autobattle to cure yourself of poison. Or that one where, no, turn Autobattle off, use your special attacks, because if you keep Autobattle on, you're just going to annoy the piss out of yourself. And then there was the ghost with the speech bubbles. And basically, like, the speech bubble counts as the first enemy. So if you leave Autobattle on, you kill the speech bubble comes back. You have to kill the ghost who's making all the damn speech bubbles.
Yep.
I kept thinking the speech bubbles did damage.
They do attack. It's pretty minimal. They're mostly just kind of annoying. But they do damage. Just not a lot of damage. But yeah, I would be very interested and much more prefer, I think, because one of the things I realized in this playthrough too, because I was blowing through everything, I finished all the way through Zone 2 in like an hour, because I knew everything. I didn't need to like, be enraptured in the wonderment. I didn't need to talk to everybody. I still talk to a lot of people because it's fun, but I knew what I was doing. So, but in doing so, I was so under-leveled compared to the other times that I played. I ran out of CP, competence points is what they call the magic system. I ran out of them in the fight against Dadan, so I had to like heal and use items to restore those, and then against Jaffa, I actually like lost alpha twice in that fight, just because I'm so under-leveled compared to where I was before.
Oh, wow.
But it made the game a lot more interesting for me too, because before I was just kind of snooze through even the boss battle. So something where someone, if they do like an update to the game and just kind of have each of these types of enemies be maybe buffed a little bit, but only like one of each, so you can kind of experience the different cool battles, but get rid of the random battles because those are annoying. I think it would make them for a much better product, in my opinion.
You could keep the random battles in. The one change I would make to off immediately is change the random battle sound.
Yeah.
First off, it's a quick, sharp sound, which we knew back in the NES days was a bad idea. You know, if you're going to surprise people, you kind of have to wean them into it, so that's why Final Fantasy, the original goes, like it's kind of a slow, crunchy noise.
Yep.
In Final Fantasy VII, they use like the whole screen swirl and a whoosh sound. So in both instances, you get about a second to realize what's going on. In off, it's boom, battle.
Yep.
The other thing is, because he still has to accomplish the goal of alerting you to the random battle, it has to be a loud sound. And I think it might be Zone 2 or 3, but it's got a very low atmospheric soundtrack, and then random battle.
Yep.
It is painful to the ears.
Oh, man. I hated that in Zone 3, where the cafeteria, right? Where there's a secret path where you have to follow it, or else you get into an encounter. And, like, at first, when I didn't understand what the fuck it was, like, I stepped on a tile. Ah! Like, god damn it. Jeez, yeah. Third sound was bad.
Yes, it was. Yeah, that was definitely something that was just very... yeah, like I said, in the cafeteria, and then 2, it was on Zone 2 near the end.
Like,
because at that point, when you're climbing the library, it's a much more quiet, reserved soundtrack than it normally is. And so, yeah, when those random battles come in, it's a very jarring thing. Yep.
Yeah, the cafeteria one really caught me off guard. Because, like, sometimes when you're trying to backtrack and you're kind of like, I know the way, and you don't know the way. And then you get fucked by a random battle, like, ah!
Speaking of, like, just the battles in general, I really kind of like the simplicity of the backgrounds. Like, Mortis didn't really try to make these big sweeping backgrounds. Like, when you're fighting, like, in the city, you know, there's not, like, a huge cityscape background. It's just different colors of battle time. There's some designs in the upper right, some designs in the lower left. It says battle time on one side, and that's all.
Yep. And if the battle's super important, it's red. If it's something else, it's yellow. Things like that. It's good. It's simple. It's nice.
Yeah, and that clean aesthetic goes a long way, because he did that with, you know, the Overworlds too. The other thing is, like, I've seen a couple anime screenshots from recent shows where, like, every single girl has a different palette and, like, hair color and shit. And when you're using literally every single color in every single shot, it's hard for people to distinguish what's important. So for those backgrounds, like, it could be like a whole background of piss yellow, but all the enemies and characters are black and white, so they're easy to distinguish.
Yeah. Again, the simplicity of the game is probably one of its biggest selling points, because, or at least the visual simplicity, because there's a lot going on beneath the surface, and I'll start scratching on that here soon. But it's just a very easy experience to digest with your eyes.
That's one of the key aspects of a good RPG is, you know, people talk about comfy games. Well, they're comfy because they don't offend your senses. And there are more than a couple games where, like, either the soundtrack or the visuals are just too busy and they keep jarring you out of your, you know, half catatonic playing a video game state. And if a game just keeps making you uncomfortable, then of course you're going to drop it. Yeah,
and that's some of the things too. That's why one thing too, if you ever replay off, do it without headphones on, because that will stop the the jarring noise in your ear for a battle, because it is a lot less noticeable when you're playing it just through speakers.
I wouldn't mind if they toned down how often the random thing happens. Like, geez.
Yeah, that's the one thing too is that there's just a lot of random battles, and if you know exactly where to go, there's a lot less, admittedly, because it's just you go right where you need to go and that kind of thing. So all right, so I wanna jump on puzzles really quick, and I'm gonna start with one that's not really a puzzle, but it took me forever to like figure out what the fuck was going on. The Zone 2 library. And the whole thing outside of it, was it just me that just could not wrap my head around what it was doing, or did it take you all a little bit of time to kind of figure it out?
Okay, all right. So I played Link Between Worlds a couple years ago. Adam had it, and I borrowed it. And even before then, I had the idea of like changing perspective because. I mentioned this in Defeat the Darkness. Everything is seen north to south. Every door on every building has to face south so the player can see it. And I really enjoyed how the library, like, as you turn the corners, it keeps facing that towards you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought that was really cool. And I had considered doing it, but now that I've seen it in practice, I realized just how kind of silly and untenable it would be.
Yeah, it's a cool idea, but... I mean, not like once I figured it out, I was fine, but like I spent probably a good 30 minutes when I first was playing off just being like, what the fuck? I don't understand. What does this mean?
You had a hard time with turning the corner? I mean, like it messed me up the first couple of times I like tried to change the screen. Like, okay, I'll go out to the north, to like the up of the screen, and then I come out the side, and I'm like, huh. So I try it again, and then back to the side of the screen. Like, okay, this must have something to do with the arrows on the wall, and I like figured it out right away. Like, oh, it's all different facing.
Yeah. See, that did not, like, for whatever reason, but I'm
I
also
know how
really...
to read a fucking map.
Well, I'm also really, really bad at, like, three-dimensional rendering in my head. Like, whenever I play any of the Layton games, when I get to one of those puzzles, I just hand it to Sarah and just let her do the puzzle because I just cannot wrap my head around turning something 2D into 3D in my brain. Doesn't work. Never has worked. But, I mean, I could kind of step back, too, because the post office elevator puzzle was, even the first time I played it, I had zero problem with that puzzle. And coming back to it, still had zero problem with it. Yeah, the cat... the judge on the top is like, hey, there's one room where everybody kind of talks about the same thing, and I prefer uppercase to lowercase. So you talk to them, and they say form whatever, and it's lowercase, and stamp whatever, and it's an uppercase, or vice versa. So you take the uppercase number that they give you, and then you put that into the elevator, and there you go.
Fuck you for saying you had no problem with that puzzle.
The first time I played it, zero problem. The only puzzle in that entire game that I needed to look up a guide for were the 3 posters. Fuck those posters. Yeah, whatever they were, calendars, posters. Yeah, I just could not get through those questions. I couldn't figure it out.
I thought I counted 23 threes, but there were 22 threes. Whatever. And luckily, 23 is not an option, so I just went, well, I don't see 23 on here, 22, whatever, fuck it.
Yeah.
But no, like, with the building with all the floors, that was only as hard as, like, you choose to make it for yourself, because I immediately went to the roof. Like, I said, fuck it, 9999, let's see what happens. And, hey, I'll give you a hint for 100 credits. Sure. Oh, what are they talking about the most? Okay, and then oh, lowercase? Okay, cool. So I needed a stamp, and I needed the stamp that everyone was talking about. And there was one room where everyone mentioned the same stamp, so I just went there, and boom, hey. According to a guide, there was like some treasure and shit on a couple other floors, but
yeah.
You don't need that.
Yeah, no, you can put in like the other forms and stamps, and they'll take you to rooms that either will have nothing or treasure in there, but it's mostly non-consequential.
Fuck you guys for actually getting that puzzle super fast. I hate you all.
Oh man. So it reminded me
I
of
also went to the roof right away, but like fuck the cats. Okay, the cat said he'll only say this hint once, and he said it once. And I like had to like rack my brain to remember all the things he said. And then even though I remembered all the things he said, I ended up talking to the wrong people like so many times in a row. Like, okay, this guy has to be the one. Nope, wrong floor. This guy, nope, wrong floor. This guy, nope. And I spent like it felt like 2 hours going back and forth, going like, all right, I'm probably talking to the wrong guys at this point. Jeez, fucking goddamn it! I hate you all.
Got it. Well, I used a guide for the later part because once you get to that one floor, there are 4 areas. They're not separate floors, even though you're using stairs. But whatever. There are books, and there's like 5 or 6 books, and they all have 2 separate numbers in them. And I never bothered to write them down because I remembered like the first 3 or 4, and then there were more, and then I was fucked. and then
hey Cody, you should have just backtracked, asshole.
Oh yeah, backtracked and gotten more fucking encounters. No, thank you.
Yeah, I told you I'll take notes. I fucking told you.
I warned you about the notes. But
I think you said that after that point, so
yeah, maybe.
No, he warned me ahead of time, and I thought, no, I'll memorize it, and then I figured out that it was like 12 numbers instead of 6, and anyway, so I used a guide for that. I did enjoy the puzzle. It might have been the library where there's pages and books, and you have to put the pages in the right book, and you know, just to play with puzzle tropes that Mortis is familiar with, each page is page 33.
Yeah.
Every page 32 talks about there are 3 things. The first, the second, and then each page 33 says the third thing, and then the rest of the text is faded. So you can't figure out which page is which from the page number or the text on the damn page. You have to figure it out from the stamp. Like, how is the page stamped?
Yep. They've all got a watermark of a playing card, and that is a super cool puzzle. Because I remember the first time I came across, I was like, "Oh, dude, 33." So let me go put it. Oh, this is 32. Perfect. I'll put it here. All right, what else we got? And then I got another page. And it was 33, and I was like, "Oh, oh, wait, there's more to this than I thought."
Oh yeah, the encounters. Okay, I wanted to go back to what we were just saying. Like, backtracking to get the puzzle clues also means getting into more encounters, and I did not want to do that. There were at least 2, maybe 3 block puzzles where I could either keep going through the level to find the rest of the clues, or I could just brute force the puzzle and not have to deal with encounters. And you bet your ass, every time I brute forced the puzzles, went forward anyway, found some clues and a big sack of nothing, and then had to deal with the encounters anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, the what's really weird to me, as far as the puzzle goes, the one with the pedalo,
yeah.
And that was in zone 1, because you can't go to the right first because there's not a pedalo there, so you have to go to the left first. So you get all of the numbers in order, but there's a white number and there's a black number, and they don't really ever like specify which one you need or anything like that. But you kind of go through, and I just jotted all the numbers down as I came to them, and then I looped around and I went down and I got them all. So then I had them all on a list, so I tried the white number first, and then the black didn't move, so I just tried the black number first, and then the black started moving, so then I just kind of went down the list of the black numbers. I don't really know what the point of the white numbers is, besides to give you like 3 seconds of of nope, that's not right, and that's all, because I
didn't understand. The white numbers are like the order you have to punch them in with. One set of numbers is literally like the order you punch in the numbers.
Is it really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9?
One side is literally just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the other side is like the actual things you have to punch in.
Oh, holy shit. I miss that every time. I just tried the white number first. It didn't work, so then I put in the black number, and then it worked. So I just followed it down. Oops.
Because like 5 and 6 are like, depending on how you encounter 5 and 6, they're inverted.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? That makes a lot of sense though, because like basically every other like puzzle, it's always black numbers. Like in the first zone where you learn about puzzles, it's the black numbers you use.
Right.
And I think with the Petalo puzzle, like the black numbers ended in C, which clued me in because C usually completes puzzles.
Yep.
And I used that for the lever one later on, where like there's a bunch of levers that you have to turn on and off to open a door, because of course you do.
Oh yeah.
There's one puzzle where you have to hit the first lever again because it's always the first lever, so I got that one right away. But there's another one where there's a set of levers, one lever by itself, but in the set of 3, one of them has a C on it. So I fiddled with the 3 to unlock the one by itself, but the door was still closed off. But I knew C completes puzzles. I pulled the lever with C on it, and boom, open door. Whoosh, gone.
I did not get that logic, even though I played through the whole game. Like, I accidentally solved it, but me not knowing how I solved it really bugged me.
Yeah, I got to the levers and everything too, and there's information there, but I just kind of brute forced it too at that point because I didn't. It's not that complicated to figure out, so it's just you keep flipping switches until something works. That's pretty much all. But then there was another puzzle too that the first time I played was impossible for me because I wasn't playing the game with sound, and that's the puzzle to get to Dadan. That was a super cool thing where basically you come near a door and the music gets louder, and that's the proper way. First time I played the game, I didn't have the sound on because I tend to play games without sound. I'm weird like that, I guess. So I couldn't figure it out for the longest time. I basically just memorized the path by figuring out what took me to the right spot. And just kind of wrote down each thing as I went. Like, okay, it's up, right, left, down, and figured it out that way. And then when my wife played it, she was like, "You just follow them sound," and I was like, "Huh? What are you talking about?" And then, oh, how about that? There's actually a logic to this. See, that might also be part of it, because I played Ocarina of Time when, it first came out and then never again. So that was like the furthest thing from my mind on that puzzle too.
Oh boy.
That was unique. And there's a lot of just really unique puzzles in the game. It's not always, there's a lot of numbers and blocks, but there's a lot of just cool other stuff too.
So one of the last puzzles in the room, I believe, you have to tell like the big dude who's not Enoch, but like he's like a giant regular NPC because he has
big
like
normal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like you have to tell him a random number, and then you do, and then he asks for another random number, and then in the next room you get 3755, but he doesn't like 3755.
Right.
So you go and you have to like complete much more of this area to get the number he actually wants. And then you give that one to him, and then later on you actually use 3755.
And that was a cool puzzle too, because it again took the standard of what you had presented so far and just kind of subverted it and made you think.
I was actually stuck on that for a while. I did everything in that room, or so I thought. So I left, and then I was like, I left, and then I came back, and then I was like, they gotta be doing something with this select a save thing. So then I picked another save, and lo and behold, it's a fucking entirely different place.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, no, them using the save screen to like as another like just minor puzzle is a really cool thing too. Because when I first played it too, I was like, why do I have 3 saves? I've only saved once.
That's the thing that bothered me, because I saved 5 times so far. Like I had 5 different saves for like different like scenes, and then I'm like, okay, they can't have just like to something.
They wiped your save, motherfucker.
Poor saves.
But, like, yeah, I'm glad like I'm glad like there was like a different level of exploration for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing is the where you get to play as Boxman. Is that where you fight against Ballman? The whole mini game there, where you're playing as the guy that just runs around and beats stuff up with his fists rather than being the batter.
You're right.
The boxer, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Boxman.
So that was a very interesting thing, and that's kind of getting into a lot of the some of the symbolism for the game too.
Oh.
Because the person that you're fighting against and the bad guy is a baseball player who is your main character through most of the game. So a lot of people tend to think that Hugo, the kid, basically views the batter his father as the bad guy in all of this. And that basically, according to a lot of the stuff that I've read, and this is just kind of getting into nothing being confirmed, because Mortis has refused to confirm anything as far as what the actual like story is to this game. But a lot of the conjecture is because there's that comic about it, and basically the general theme is that Hugo has some sort of hospital-required illness. His dad is kind of an asshole and probably a religious nut. His mom is very nice and tries to take care of him. And basically he brought that comic to Hugo in the hospital. And so in reading it, the ball man was the bad guy. And so he started to identify with his father as being the bad guy. And that's why you play the batter, who is a baseball dude. And basically, presumably, Hugo's more or less brain dead in the hospital, and that's why the batter wants to purify everything and turn the life support off. And that's kind of where it gets into like the meat, plastic, smoke, and all that for the elements, because those are kind of things that you would all, well, except for smoke. It's kind of weird, but all things that you kind of like get in the hospital, unless they're like using smoke as like the anesthesia mist or something along those lines. And one thing that lends weight to that is under the music tracks, I don't know if anybody got a game over, but the title track of the game over screen is Stay in Your Coma.
No, I did not get a game over, but that is very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that you're wrong, because I don't know the damnedest thing about making theories, but
right.
what I do know is at the end of the game, like, the queen, who is probably your wife, or the batter's wife, mentions that it's his birthday and that she made a cake, and like, was this the one day he was well enough to bring him home, or was this like, God, words, fuck, man. God,
you're rusty.
I am so rusty. Oh my God.
Yeah, we all are, dude. How about I talk for a little bit about the ending? Because like at that point, like I didn't get the connection between like whoever, like the Hugo's dad and the batter. Like I kind of just assumed like it was about neglect, but like the queen was neglecting the kid.
Okay.
Like that was my take on it. My take on it was like the queen was neglecting the kid. She wasn't there. She was just not doing nothing. She's doing her own thing, and it's like batter's like, that's bad. Like you really should have like taken care of him more.
Yeah, and there's some evidence to support that too. That's kind of the interesting thing, is that because Mortis hasn't confirmed anything, there's not really any certainty over what the story is. There's a lot of conjecture, but not anything certain. So that's also another possibility for it.
Because what I got was like the dad was giving comics to the kid, right? And then like, so that means the dad is actually like doing stuff for the kid, like is giving comics, and then obviously like the comic like resonates with the kid because like he got the batter from it,
right?
But like I'm thinking like he knows like hating his mom is a bad thing. That's why he has to use the batter for it. That's how I think about it.
That's fair.
But Yeah, all theories are valid, I guess, so far.
Yeah. Okay, so you see the batter beat up Hugo, and all Hugo does is defend. And
Yep.
I thought something would happen if I just defended too, but apparently not.
Yeah.
But what gets me is you defeat Hugo, and then you flip the switch off. So if he was in a coma, why would you need to beat him to death with a baseball bat and then turn his life support off?
Right, yeah, that, and like I said, there's just a lot of weird things with it, but yeah, that's one thing I've always kind of been interested with. The other thought, because of like the purified zones and all that, is that basically Batter is the personification of whatever disease is ravaging him, and the ghosts are like the antibodies and, you know, the things trying to fight this thing off, but he's just kind of being the Batter and going through and basically wiping clean every area that he visits. And so like him fighting Hugo is like him basically just killing the kid. But then I don't know what role the judge plays in that theory too. So I mean, there's so, like I said, there's so many theories, and people have sent Mortis a bunch of information. And I think the only one that he confirmed, which was like as a joke because it's so just weird and off base, is that Hugo is like some sort of super science experiment from the future that can recreate worlds and all that. And Mortis is like, yeah, sure, that makes sense.
Which makes
He
Hugo.
said yes to that. Wow, fuck that.
No, that was on the off wiki too. Because Mortis confirmed it, now he's just thrown every theory into the incinerator. Because now Hugo is simultaneously the queen's father and her son.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's the only one that Mortis has confirmed. But I'm pretty sure he was just like, you know what? Sure.
Yeah, because the way you presented RM, this is something that I was thinking about too. Because if the Batter is like purifying, if he has a brain dead son and a wife he doesn't love, of course he's going to kill them while his cat watches and just silently judges him.
Mm-hmm. And that, I mean, yeah, and that works too. There's so many cool things. Now, speaking of the ending, going to the alternate ending where the player sides with the cat to fight the Batter, all of a sudden he doesn't look very much like a Batter anymore with his big, weird alligator face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and his gigantic claws.
Yeah.
And his very pathetic moveset. God damn, why is he so easy to beat though?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of sad actually, because that's such a cool sprite. I know
I'm totally a final boss. Oh no, I've been hit by like 4 status effects. I'm dying dead.
Bleh. Oh no, I'm dead. Bleh. What makes that like really interesting is earlier on when you fight Deadan, he mentions like in the in-battle dialogue about wiping that grin off of your face, and as we all know, the Batter has 0 expression. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of curious to see if everyone else saw him as this giant, monstrous alligator thing.
Yeah.
That's
and that he was.
Point.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I like too. Is again, it's just there's no answer. Nobody knows.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense because like you fight those office workers who try to attack you, and in the battle sprite, they have their heads exploded or it's totally like warped or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like outside of battle, it's not like that. It's just a normal head face, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. So do they just really look different each time? Wow.
Except the judge, I think, because if I remember correctly, he has the same
sprite. Oh, yeah. The judge is the same regardless.
Yes.
So what the fuck is a judge?
He's the fucking judge.
He's a cat. Meow.
Speaking of that, I don't know what role Zachary plays exactly, but I think it's interesting in that one zone where he'll put on a cat mask and do what the judge is supposed to do because the judge isn't there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Zach is just kind of a wild card in general, because he's the owner of the theme park. He's kind of Deadpool aware that he knows that it's a game and he's the obligatory, salesman that sells you stuff. And then, then when the judge is indisposed, he puts on the mask and takes on his role. Like, he is like facilitating the entire experience. He's a very interesting person for sure. But
what are you buying? What are you selling?
I mean, basically.
He is cool. I trust him more than the judge. Actually.
So, one of the things, speaking of the judge, there's two cool scenes, or two things, I guess, that are really interesting with him, too. On Zone 2, with the beginning of the Japhet fight, he mentions that he has created, like, a safe shelter underground in Zone 0, which is, like, a whole optional ending boss, etc. That's in there, and I'll elaborate on that in a minute. And then also after that, if you go back to Zone 2, in there he's just up on top of the library, just crying for his brother, and it's a really cool thing and that's why he's indisposed. If you go back to Zone 2 up at the top where you killed Japhet, Valerie is still there, and he's just up there being sad, and that's just a really, again, those little details that make the good game great.
Yeah.
Oh.
I also find it interesting how Japhet killed Valerie.
Yeah.
Because it seems like I forget if it was the in-game text or the wiki, but like Valerie ate him because he was a little bird, and then the bird just grew around him.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And choked him from the inside. Yeah, like that.
And then, wears his little tiny cat body as a hat when you fight him as a boss.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he mentions, too, that Valerie was like, something about him being too weak to actually bite down on the bird or something like that, which makes it seem like Valerie is just a super kind-hearted, creature in this world of uncaring stuff. There's just little notes that are cool, and it's hard to say exactly how that whole scene played out, but yeah, no, Japhet's whole thing is so cool because you're fighting Valerie and you just think he's deluded, and then all of a sudden there's a bird coming out and you're like, what the fuck? And then it just rips out of the cat's body and you're just like, holy shit, that's awesome.
Suzaku!
Suzaku is back. He's pissed.
On the skyscraper library. Oh no.
But yeah, so basically the optional boss, her name is Sugar. She's the fifth element, because I mentioned that in Zone 3.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, basically what you need to do is you have to revisit all of the zones after they've been purified, and there's new items to find there, and a couple of them are really well hidden, so you've got to, scour all over these 3 zones that are now wiped, and then find all these items, go back to Zone 0 afterwards, and then you can unlock this door that goes down in the basement. She's there. She's really not important to the story at all, is kind of the weird part. She says some things that aren't really relevant to anything, and then you fight, and then you beat her, and that's the end of it. So a lot of people are curious about what her whole, deal is, what she represents, but nobody's really sure. But Sugar is interesting. She's also very hard, as most optional bosses tend to be.
Mortis was probably like, oh, I need an optional boss, don't I?
Yeah, here, let me just throw in this little bit here. Let me make this whole really annoying path to get to, and done.
Going back to my own game-making stuff compared to Mortis, I follow that same philosophy where if you introduce something, it should have a purpose, and there should be a payoff to what you're doing. And for off, you have the purified zones, and instead of their normal colors, they're white, and you can find those items and fight Sugar. And in Defeat the Darkness, I have a lot of things that get said or referenced that come back later. Most of the dialogue gets referenced in another episode later on. I try and make things consistent like he does. And what threw me off about him is, all of his characters are very low energy, whether it be timid or stoic, whereas every single one of my characters has some sort of anxiety disorder. Again, it took me a while to appreciate his game for what it was, but having played through all of it, he and I share similar philosophies on introducing elements and making them part of the experience and making it a complete experience. You know, like revisiting the zones and having a sugar fight, but we approach it in completely different ways.
All right.
Fair. Yeah, I also like bringing that back. I just wish she had more to like do with it, because I'm looking at her profile for the wiki too, and like she has been confirmed by Mortis to be a human, and she does have a relationship with Zachary in some capacity, because after you beat her, if you tell Zachary about it, he is very quiet. Like his little laugh that he does when you talk to him isn't present. And then she also sees the batter as a frightening duck, which could be, again referencing his battle form,
right?
Yeah, but she does, she doesn't like do anything, and that's all there is to it. It's very, very strange character.
It could be that her purpose is basically for Zachary's sake. Like Zachary is being smug and selling you stuff, and like he thinks that what he holds precious will be safe from being purified. And then he finds out he's wrong, but maybe he doesn't want to admit it, or maybe he still feels he has to sell stuff to you, but
maybe he's scared of the batter by then.
Yeah, that could also be too. Yeah, I mean, he's been smug and self-satisfied, thinking that what he cares about is safe, but it's not. He is the batter, and he will destroy everything.
Oh boy.
He came here to purify everything, and she counts as everything.
Oh boy.
Deep game.
Yeah, there's a lot in it. And then I guess the last thing to bring up, and then we can start shit. Well, two things I guess to bring up. One is very minor. Did any of you get to fight the whale?
Once.
In the library? He's so the first time.
I fought the whale twice.
Yeah, he's not like a boss or anything. He's just a random encounter. But you get into battle, and he takes up like 3/4 of the screen, and it's just like, what the fuck? No, that's all. I'm just curious. He's just very surprising.
Okay, because I got his encounter when I was like on the outside edges of the tower. Like, random encounter. What the fuck? The giant fucking whale.
It's just really
do
funny.
A lot of damage or anything, but still, it's like, huh?
Yeah, it's just funny that there's a giant ass whale in the library. That's all. That's all.
All right.
No, the other was just the random encounters in the purified zones with the weird dead baby looking things.
I walked around the purified zones like quite a while. I did not find any encounters.
I go ahead and toss those in the chat there.
Oh.
Yeah, genuinely unsettling and weird enemies. No one knows what they are, what they represent. They're all called like secretary, I think is the enemy name for it. But like, as far as again the symbolism, no one has any real idea what they are, what they represent.
Yeah, I only know one enemy name, and that's Von Gacy, and that's because that's a spoiler required answer for a puzzle.
Oh boy, I actually tried using like that scan thing on like all the bosses, and then I realized, it doesn't actually tell me anything important about the bosses.
Yeah, because why would you want to learn what their HP is when you can just beat the shit out of them?
Right.
Well, that's the issue. It doesn't even show what their HP is. It just shows bunch of question marks. Ooh, very knowledge, much get.
Yeah, the only time I've ever used an analyze spell unironically was Secret of Mana back in the day, because it told you the enemy's elemental weakness.
I thought it would do that too, but nope, most bosses don't care.
Yeah. Most of them just don't have any too, and the ones that do, it's not worth taking the time to use it.
Yeah.
You can just hit them in the face with your bat.
Yep. All right, so I've already addressed most of my criticisms through what we've talked about. Like, you have to rely on Autobattle, and while I do appreciate that Autobattle is part of the meta, like turning it off to heal or turning it off to beat certain enemies, I don't think that is smart going forward.
Yeah.
Like that is the one game where Autobattle is part of the battle strategy, and cool, great. But if anyone else does it, I don't know if I'll be playing it. The encounter sound, that is what it is. The equipment, the equipment worked for what it was because you would pay, most of your money to get a +2 to attack or a +3 to defense. Mm-hmm. So the equipment didn't do a whole awful lot, but that kept the game's difficulty from spiraling out of control, I guess.
Yeah. And I actually really kind of like the fact that they didn't bother with, helmet or, body armor or anything. It was just defense 1, defense 2, defense 3. It was just, these are what they are. You wear them however you want to wear them. Because, they were auras and that kind of thing, too. But, again, my main thing is the battle system is absolutely this game's weakest point, by far. And I know it's the RM2K3 battle system because that's the system it was made in. But, he does a good job trying to make it interesting. But at the end of the day, again, just get rid of all the random battles, put in one event battle with each type of enemy, call it a day. And balance the bosses around that and have it just be that rather than the randoms.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind if, the encounter rate was lowered, but they raised the experience, gain from it or whatever. Because, I'm fine with random encounters, but it was just so frequent. And then it was so frequent for a battle system where you could just hit auto and then you'll win eventually, I guess.
Yeah. And again, with brute forcing the block puzzles, I would rather brute force a block puzzle than go through and deal with those encounters and backtrack. Mm-hmm. It could be the exact same amount of time I'm spending, but I would rather spend it brute forcing the block puzzle than hear that loud ass encounter noise and then deal with the random battles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, at one point I thought they had so many random encounters because they were trying to actually distract you from remembering what the fuck the answer of the puzzle was.
That's fair.
It's one of those Men in Black forgetfulness beams. Okay, I memorized the entire password. Time to go to the password guy. What happened? My brain turned off.
God.
Oh, battle time.
Another thing that makes Off unique is because of, the ambiguity of its themes and its consistency, it is excused from rather deep analysis because we don't know exactly what it's trying to say.
Yeah.
Whereas you take, because Star Wars is on my brain, Star Wars, it's very deeply rooted in Greek myth. It's got, the hero's journey and all that. And you can analyze it not only from the perspective of the movie itself, but from the thousands of other stories that are made in a similar formula.
Yeah.
And you can call Star Wars good still because it's got a certain quality to it. But with Off, because Off is the only thing that Off resembles, you can't put too much of an objective marker on it because Off is what Off is, and Off is not Star Wars.
Yeah, there's really not anything that it does that a lot other games do, because even the walking simulator, like Yume Nikki and other games that are out there too. I mean, they're kind of weird and bizarre in their own way, but not in the way that Off is, and just kind of a generally unsettling atmosphere the digger that you deep into it.
Did you just say the digger that you deep into it?
I did.
We English good in podcast.
Now, I forgot to mention, there is one thing from Sugar, too, speaking of references and that kind of thing. When you beat her, you get an item that you can give to Zachary that you can trade for the Ashley bat, which attacks twice per swing, or a card, I forget which one. But basically, if you have that card in your inventory when you beat the game, you get a joke ending, which is pretty similar to the UFO endings from the Silent Hill games. But basically in the joke ending, a flying saucer comes down with a bunch of space apes in it. They thank the batter for purifying everything, so now they can build their giant robot factory and destroy everything else. And that's the joke ending. That's pretty good.
Are we sure it's a joke, though, and not the actual canon ending?
No. A lot of people, of course, assume it's a joke, but no, it very well could be the actual ending, and Mortis is just like, haha, you're all dumb for trying to say this for more than it is.
I mean, the endings do point out that one's the official ending and the other's a different ending. So, yeah.
That's true.
So there is a canon ending. It's just one of the choices.
All right. You got me.
Okay, I do have one final question about everything. And this is regarding the batter. In his face portrait, does he have 2 eyes or does he have 4 eyes?
I think he has the pitch because don't some batters use that stuff underneath their eyes?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what he has.
Okay. There's a lot of fan art of him having 4, and it's really good.
I always kind of thought that was just like blush lines or something. I don't know. I watched too much anime. I'm sorry.
Oh, Enoch Senpai. No, because I was just watching Games Done Quick 2018, and there's a glitch exhibition for Ocarina of Time, and it shows Link with 5 mouths. Like, he doesn't have a face, he has 5 mouths, and it's right in the thumbnail.
Ooh, that's weird. That's too many mouths for me, thanks.
Yeah, let me see if I can load this up without... Okay, alright, cool. Yeah, see that? So those are not eyebrows, that is not closed eyes. Those are open mouth, and then, like, kind of a semi-open mouth, and then his actual mouth down below.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, so are we good?
Yeah, at this point, I think that I've covered pretty much everything as far as that goes.
Okay, so now we talk about the bad stuff about Off, right?
We did.
Yeah,
there wasn't very much.
So there's nothing bad about Off. Okay, cool.
Well, I had one, but like if the worst thing I can say is your encounter noise is too loud, you must have made a pretty good game.
Yeah. All in all, once you can like really get past the intro and get into it and all the weirdness, Off is a very, very solid game all around. I just wish they did something better with the battle system. That's all.
Yep. Too many random encounters. Please adjust. Also, you didn't warn me it was a puzzles. You didn't warn me about the puzzles, RM. Why didn't you tell me about the puzzles?
I told you to take notes. I told you to take notes.
I mean, okay, because here's my thing. Like, when I started, I did not expect, like, for everything there would be a puzzle.
Oh, yeah.
Puzzles I did not expect so many puzzles in such an amount of time. Jeez, goddammit. But you know what? By the end of the day, I'm fine with it now. It's okay. It's cool.
Yep. Now you've beaten Off, you feel better, and we can move on.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So thank you all for listening to the RPGMG podcast or the RPGMGP. We don't know what we're playing next, but we hope you look forward to it. This is Cody. See y'all next time.
This is Red Mage. We'll see you later.
This is Blue Sky Robin, and I'm gonna swing some bats now.
Do not break anything.
Oh, I'm not gonna break anything. I don't even have a bat, I think. I gotta buy one from the store.
Oh, okay.
Just don't engage in bat behavior.
Oh, that was awful.
Oh boy.
The show is over.